The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios.
Hi, this is Mia Mosinzia, also known as Mia No Time for Love. Check out my latest book, Missing, available in print and ebook formats on Amazon.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartradio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout-out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Mosinzia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Mosinzia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Mosinzia has garnered great reviews and even loved and endorsed by Howard celebrities, including John Cassidy, Forbes, Riley, and Mills. So grab your copy today for Goes Missing by Mia Mosinzia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com on 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, Apple Music, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies. Makes great gifts 24/7. Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Mosinzia for great books like Missing, Once and Wrinkles. Also T-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, phone cases, and more. Amazon.com/Mia Mosinzia. Check it out today. Also support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, MikeWagner.com. And make sure you buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com at the Mike Wagner Show. And make sure you do so today. We're here with a terrific 2 of the members in the studio, and the 3rd will be joining us later as well, too. And they formed a new project to bring the original music of Sounds Gone By analog to today's generation. We'll talk about that. And they partner with producers. Let's get to our people first. We have a songwriter and vocalist from New York City who lived through the 60s, and we also have a lady who toured for 25 years around the globe, 30-plus countries, performed as lead soprano at the New York Metropolitan Orchestra and also in Beirut, Germany. And our guest and our next one will be coming in as well, too. Is a bassist and multi-instrumentalist and worked with a number of people, including Nile Rodgers, Kim Sozi, Bo Diddley, and more. And, of course, we've got the leader who also worked along those same lines as well, too, a celebrated session musician, bodyguard, and more. And live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios and Smash Studios in beautiful downtown Manhattan, part of New York City, where Roger Waters had ventured these studios. And, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the amazing trio of John Gitano and adriennedugger of the American Relics. Guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Mike.
How are you?
Hello, it's great to have you guys. And checked out your amazing music, and you also got a new album called The Eyes of 1969, which features a title track. We'll be talking about that. And you guys formed a new project to bring original music of Sounds Gone By to today's generation, which is an analog and more. And John, you're a songwriter, vocalist from New York City who lived through the 60s, and you also worked with a number of people as well, too. You are associated with Nile Rodgers Management. You're also associated with Neil Bogart, Gene Simmons of Kiss, and Casablanca Records, and a lot more. And Adrienne, you toured for 25-plus years, and you've been around the globe in 30-plus countries as lead soprano at the New York Metropolitan Opera, Beirut, Germany, and more. And Nelson Montana will be joining us later. He's a bassist and multi-instrumentalist who's worked with Nile Rodgers, Kim Sozi, Bo Diddley, Chuck Berry, and more. And just a lot of great stuff, and he's also featured in the book. And before we get to your works as well, too, guys, tell us how you first got started.
Well, I left music for a period of time and expected something to be, if to use the word, replace what I went through as an adolescent. And was waiting and realized that stockpiling the material that I did that was influenced from that time, I didn't want to never do anything with it. So having left the industry, I got together some of the best musicians that I knew and decided that it was time, post-pandemic especially, this started during the pandemic, but post-pandemic especially, to put this all together, record, and to bring back that sound of which when I speak to so many older people, they all say similarly what we say also, that there seems to be a void. And the void is that there's that analog and the melodic and the production that just we don't see in today's music. I'm not saying there isn't good music around. There is good music around. But we lived through something very, very special, and the time just seemed to be, again, right for this, to bring something to the table, especially with musicians that all were concurring with the same mindset that I had had.
Mm-hmm. And Adrienne, tell us how you first got started as well, too. So.
Well, opera and classical music generally, we're all analog, we're all fingers on the instruments and so on like that. And I had a sort of a turning point in my life, sort of like COVID brought a turning point to the planet right now. I had a turning point, and in a way, it was really good. The opera world gets sort of accused of being the museum keepers for this music. And I can see that there are some people who might even say that about vintage rock and roll. And I think that there's a big, big difference between being a museum keeper and being somebody who's holding the space, opening the choices, maintaining as much freedom as possible for people to have all the choices in the world to listen to what speaks to them in a particular moment. We've all had a favorite album, and you go back and listen to it 10 years later and go, yeah, I was in a bad head when I was listening to that, So, it's been very, very eye-opening for me. Opera, everything's already written down. And in going in the studio, watching these guys orchestrate something right there and going, and it's always in the pocket. That's the benefit of working with someone like John or someone like Nelson, who's been around, who's heard, who's done, who's seen, and they really have this encyclopedia in their ear and in their brain, and they just go right to it. It's very, very impressive, Mm-hmm. I don't know if that was an answer, but
John, I think you probably had an answer to it as well. So,
the question again, Mike. My apologies.
No. It was just simply you agreed as well too. And what was that one precise moment that simply influenced you guys into what you're doing, your careers, and everything like that?
I think that going over some of the old material that I had, some of it written as I sent you something, even in the late 60s, and then I archived, and then waking up one day and playing the song and realizing that a lot of the vintage music is timeless. It is some of classic and retro rock can be played today in the right framework and still be as popular as it was then. Unfortunately, it's not pushed by the industry as much as it was, nowhere near as much as it was at the time. But I think that there was a light bulb that went on in my head. And I had said that, if I'm going to do this again with this stockpiling of at least 150 songs that I've written, it's going to be now.
Mm-hmm. And how did you guys first come together?
I'll say myself and Adrienne.
For both you guys, and also with Nelson.
Nelson, I had met in a musician's finding website called Bandmix, right? And I was so impressed with something he did on the bass, which was Somewhere Over the Rainbow, totally on bass. And he used every different style and every rhythmic pattern and everything that on a bass you couldn't do, it seems. And I says, I have to call this guy, and I did. And then I found out not only he's a good songwriter, but he's a nice person. And we started collaborating. We're writing a lot of different material right now. I sent you one, which I'm very proud of, that I Need You Home, and so many other things that we're doing. And it just seems for the American Relics, it just seemed to gel. theamericanrelics.com, by the way.
And then go ahead with you, Adrienne. Just tell us about your story as well, and also let's get to a part about who are some of your favorite artists, singers, and songwriters and musicians growing up.
Well, John and I actually met, we met online. Not necessarily for the purposes of music making, but nevertheless, that's sort of where it gravitated to, because you can't have musicians without music coming out. You know, John oozes music, and to the point that we'll be hanging out, or he'll be driving me someplace in the car, and he'll just be writing something as we go along, singing the narrative of the drive to the grocery store, whatever, right? So that's the degree to which these guys are just steeped in an atmosphere of music. And John has another bandmate, not here with us in the studio to talk today, but Ian Zane, that you guys have known each other, went to high school together.
To high school, right? I met him on a junior high school. Coming home from junior high school, and I liked his shirt. I told my mother, I want that shirt. She goes, first you want to be a Beatle, now you want to be a cowboy, because he had that type of shirt on. And he played with the New Riders of the Purple Sage, also on the East Coast, was their tour bass player too. But everybody has something to, the American Relics, everybody has something to bring, and there are different songwriters and different styles. It is all, to me, the best of what was. We try to emulate and bring those styles back in a modern sense.
Mm-hmm. And who are some of your favorite artists, singers, and songwriters and musicians growing up, guys? So one of you can go ahead and start. Adrienne or John? Go ahead, yeah.
Well, I had... I'm fortunate my folks are still around, and they're in their 90s. So when they were growing up, they were taught classical music in school. And so it wasn't a strange thing at all for them to have both influences going simultaneously, the pop stuff that was being played on the radio and the classical stuff that was still showing up in movies with different words, you know, Tonight We Love and that sort of stuff, right? So that's the sort of household I grew up in. My dad used to love to blast Beethoven when he was in that frame of mind, and when he wasn't, my sister and I had transistors. So, you know, I was around listening to, I remember when Sgt. Pepper came out. So, of course, you got to love the Beatles. And there were some other sort of swoony singers that as young females, you know, with the fan mags we listened to and stuff like that. But I'm trying to think if anybody in particular jumps out. I mean, John has been playing me some Paul Revere and the Raiders.
Mm-hmm. Oh my!
A really great group.
Yes, I love Paul Revere and the Raiders.
Right? Mm. And, you know, as for a young girl, it's like, oh, they're just the cutest, swooniest things, you know. And I can remember cousins, we would sit around and watch American Bandstand in black and white on the weekend and practice the dances in our pajamas. And, you know, yeah.
I think what is also missing from days gone by, Mike, is I'm sure you've heard this also in your podcast, is that when there is vinyl, say, and it doesn't necessarily have to be vinyl, it could be just something physical. Nowadays, we don't own anything. We're beholden to the internet to either turn us on or turn off if we paid a subscription. And I used to look so forward to, say, the Beatles' White Album and opening it up and seeing if you're old enough, you remember the book in there and the pictures.
Yes, I remember.
Oh my God, that was so exciting. And that, I feel so bad for the generation now, because they don't have that ownership feel that they can go to it and play it on one of their own devices in their house. They don't have to listen to anybody saying that they paid or they didn't pay. Is my signal working? Do I have the internet? The capacity, and that's something that I think is very, very much missed, as is evidenced by the surge in vinyl sales right now.
And of course, vinyl sales is making a comeback as well too. Especially that I still have some vinyl back in the day of growing up. That I still have some old Genesis. I still have some Led Zeppelin, Beatles, everything. And of course, it still got the scratchy feel to it. But it's like, I love that scratchy feel. My family got me a turntable. It's like one of the more newer ones, but I prefer the older ones a few years ago. And my daughter got me Queen Night at the Opera. And it still sounds like, it just came out. It came out like 73, 74, 75, around there. And,
around there. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and listen to it. It's like, although it was new and it was like just, completely out, it still had that same vinyl feel. And you're right, too. And my favorite is just looking at the record label, go round and round. You read the liners and everything, yes. And even come out designer ones where it's like they splatter the whole logo all over the vinyl itself. I loved it.
Yeah.
Right. And at the same time, having traveled a certain amount, having an ebook, having a Kindle, having a Nook, having a whatever, so that you can take that massive amount of information in this teeny tiny space. I love the freedom of that. And I'm learning, again, with John and with Nelson, that having some of the tools available, Nelson was playing around with some instrumentation that he could do with a push button, as opposed to calling and waiting for somebody to schlep their keyboard in and so on like that. So it's really nice to have all the options. Mm-hmm. It's something that I'm taking a lot of pleasure in, and that so I feel like the American Relics are really serving a genuine service to sort of hold the place of, to keep the space of, to make a foundation stone for that people can step onto. Analog, acoustic, etc., that is less focused on now. It's easy to really get swept up in the technology because it's traveling so quickly and it's so amazing in what they're developing. And at the same time, it's sort of like the difference between going to see a movie with a flying unicorn that shoots lasers from its eyes or interacting with an actual horse. The horse can't shoot the lasers, but it's really fascinating and unpredictable. So sorry, John, go ahead.
I think you've done a pretty good job as well, too. And that was the thing about the days of watching the old sound effects, how it's actually crafted. Now it's all CGI and everything. So,
right.
I even talked to some bands, too, that you'll still record a 4-track and 8-track and analog. And
exactly.
And, of course, right now that, too, is starting to make a comeback. And then you had the full orchestras that were heavily employed, with the big studios and everything. And then it started coming down to a Mellotron. And now, of course, you got midis and everything like that too. So we have all that, and then we're waiting on Nelson Montana to come on in. We'll talk more with John Gitano and Adrienne-Dugger of the American Relics and talk about the eyes of 1969 and more. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Wave Studios. Visit online at sonicwavestudios.com for all you need. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Wave Studios is the answer. Sonic Wave Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. It's 1-800-303-3960. Or email support@sonicwavestudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout-out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Mosensia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Mosensia. Available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those you love will be the first go missing. Available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Mosensia has garnered great reviews and even loved and endorsed by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for Goes Missing by Mia Mosensia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com on over 30 podcast platforms. Take us with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Mosensia. for great books, merchandise, and more. Also support us on Anchor FM, PayPal, themikewagnershow.com. You can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com at The Mike Wagner Show. Make sure you do so today. We're here with John Gitano and Adrienne Dugger of the American Relics here on The Mike Wagner Show, and Nelson Montano will be joining us in a few minutes. And John, before we talk about the album The Eyes of 1969 and some of the songs, you had worked not just a celebrated session musician, you also as a bodyguard and a private investigator, and you also were known to investigate the disappearance of the Sheraton Hotel fortune heiress. And tell us about some of those ventures as well.
Well, she was Marcia Moore. She was a bohemian. She was a bit of a rogue in the family. She was into, in California, the scene at the time back in those days, which was the specialty. Her specialty was hypersensitive, was traveling back into time and visiting past lives and reincarnation. And unfortunately, she got involved with her husband at the time in a drug called ketamine, known as Special K on the street right now, whereby they were using that drug in order to expand their minds, again, reflective of the times. And there wasn't, the outcome was that she walked supposedly into the woods one day, and she was never found after that. And I was on the case, and I spoke a lot to her husband, if I pronounce his name, remembering back, Altunian, Robert Altunian. And there were a lot of circumstances that were still unresolved. As a matter of fact, there was a podcast, there was a book that came out recently. I think it was called An Undetermined Death, the mysterious disappearance of and death of Marcia Moore. And also a woman, Elizabeth Bentley, is doing a documentary right now that she's conferred with me on, writing the story of Marcia Moore. She just happened to come across the story in the woman and her books in a library and became very, very interested in it. Long story short, they still haven't determined what the cause of her death was. It could be, and here it goes from the woo-woo side to the possible realistic, that she was either dematerialized. A coven of witches had slain her because of some beef that she had with them. Suspect of her husband, another person that she was involved with in the past, and her husband, who had told me personally that she just might have been unvital at the time, possibly getting a little sick, I remember, because I remember him telling me that, and walked into the woods and maybe being unvital, possibly on what she was taking, the special, the ketamine. Maybe just couldn't find her way back. But they found her body 2 years later, and it's still an undetermined death. And again, she was the Sheraton Motor Inn heiress. And just a little aside here, her son recently was missing for 2 years. Wow. And he now also was found in the woods deceased because they did the DNA on him in Maine. And just karmic, again, so many years later, the same place that her son was found, the woods, and still it's an undetermined death.
Wow. That seems coincidence and just crazy. Unbelievable, yeah. And of course, you've been on a number of cases as well, too. Maybe just a couple more cases. You also been a celebrity bodyguard. You can also tell us, who you worked with, and what were they like?
Well, there's 100 books by bodyguards, and they always get everyone in trouble. And it's hard to say things about, again, as a respect for people who are deceased, but I can say a few things and maybe not name a few and maybe name a few of incidents. Well, one woman who was well-known, an older actress in the Rat Pack, she was known in that. I remember me driving her back to Central Park South, I think it was, and she had said, and she was also into the what's the word, the paranormal also, and also a naturalist, if I remember correctly, and she wanted to walk from my car, limousine, to her hotel through Central Park at night.
Wow.
And that wasn't a good idea. So I remember myself having to hide behind certain trees and her not see me to make sure that she made it there okay. Another story is I
should interject. John's 6'4".
I can tell.
Right.
Another story is someone I remember, this I will not mention the name, that he was in rehab at the time. Very nice guy, very, very big actor. And we made a turn to a place that put him off that, is it off the wagon or on the wagon?
Falling off the wagon.
Yeah, there you go. And many stories like that, but it's hard for me to really say names here, but there are many, many stories, names, because it just, it never seems to work out right when you say something at the end of the day. It doesn't.
Yeah, and of course, it's a rather interesting profession as well, too. And also, let's go over to Adrienne. You also toured in 30 countries. You toured for 25 plus years, lead soprano at New York Metropolitan Opera, and also in Beirut, Germany. And maybe just a bit about those, the experience, and maybe some of your favorite countries you sang in, and also some of the favorite opera houses.
Wow. Opera houses are fantastic. I mean, there's some things that just can't be replaced by technology. And one of them is a big space that's perfectly designed to carry sound. And it's just one of the biggest highs that you could ask for. And because of the position that I was in, I was always singing with the really great orchestras, really great fellow singers in really great venues. So there was always a flavor there. And there was usually a long history of other singers having been there before I got there. That being said, also as a result of being a singer, I was with a group that we toured through the Middle and Far East. Ambassadors of Opera and Concert, it was called. Wow. So, exactly. So I got to go to places that I would have had to save up for a really long time to go as a tourist. Nairobi, Kenya. Who would have thought of them as being a potential venue for an opera tour? But that's one of the places that we stopped.
Never thought of that. Nairobi having an opera. It's like almost like you never know. So it's like you could go into let's see, I'm trying to think of another country. That's for another time.
We went to Azerbaijan, and interestingly enough, they had Luciano Pavarotti shortly before we had come. So, the thirst for all kinds of music is something that just gives me hope for humanity, and they've been sort of emphasizing during COVID some of the deleterious effects that it's had on us and our ways of thinking and our ways of feeling. But it's also, as far as I know, brought a tremendous boom, not just in streaming, but people listening to as you were talking about, your beautiful vinyl albums and CDs and DVDs, and people are having a chance or had a chance to root back into the things that they might have tucked away and brought it back out and thought, this reminds me not just of who I was when I listened to it, but of how great it still is.
Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. And and also too, being a musician as well too, maybe some of your favorite musicians you worked with as well too, John.
Yeah, I did a lot of backing for people, but I think that the highlight of my life, all right, was that I was communicating with Jack Bruce, who's one of my idols from Cream. And he invited me to a show, and I got to speak to him for a while. And I asked him all the questions I wanted to ask about Cream, and he made me realize, let me see if I can put it in the right words, he made me realize my own musical importance, and also that I still had something to give. In other words, what I was here for. I think if I didn't meet him at the time, I was going in another direction at the time, but meeting him and him having some words with me and being, again, one of my idols, it made me realize that no matter that you can take the music, from the musician, but you can never really take it out of the musician. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And that's very true as well. And Adrienne, were you going to say something?
Well, just John has a great story on the website, theamericanrelics.com. Check it out. Not only is it an amazing website, but it's a priceless story.
It's about Jack. My conversation with Jack Bruce that night, and something that occurred, which is a bit funny, and it's a precious moment in my life.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you also had worked with as well too, represented like with the contracts, Madonna, Bon Jovi, Shakira, Ricky Martin, and more. And it seems like the American Relics seems to just expand along those lines.
Yeah, Gene Simmons, I remember, hooked me up with the particular connections I had at the time, and then his producers in Casablanca Records, and then it was Elton John and Rocket Records after that. But it was, if I can give credit to Gene Simmons, he gave me the attorney who I'm still friends with nowadays, and who handles all those people and more. And I think that my leaving the business after a period of time makes me reflect back on those times like it was yesterday. That's why I feel the leap from the 70s, from the 70s, we'll call it, to nowadays is such a direct connection, because again, I'm not knocking the music nowadays. There's a lot of good music out there, but what we went through, yourself possibly also, Mike, was so special back then that it's something that's never going to leave us. It's going to be with us for the rest of our lives. And I'm only taking advantage of one of the aspects of that and what I can still do to sort of honor that and pay tribute to it.
Mm-hmm. And certainly will, too. We'll talk about the album, The Eyes of 1969. We'll talk about the music, including the title track, I Need You Home. We'll be playing that at the end of the audio interview. We'll still waiting on Nelson Montana to join us as well, too. And we'll talk about The Eyes of 1969. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Also brought to you by our official sponsor, The Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia Missing, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. We'll be back with John Gitano and adriennedugger of the American Relics. Nelson Montana will be joining us after this time out.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. It talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamotionzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Hey, this is Ray Powers, and boy, are you in luck. Right place, right time. Tuned in to The Mike Wagner Show. You heard me.
We're back with the American Relics with John Gitano and adriennedugger in the studios here on the Mike Wagner Show, and also being at Smash Studios where Roger Waters and Pink Floyd played, and that'd be experience as well too, just being in a studio where Pink Floyd played.
Yeah, and we just learned that right now from our engineer here, Jensen, who seems to be a very, very nice guy. Hello, Jensen. Who's in the corner.
Took care of us today.
And there's been a lot of stars that have come through here because it's very well equipped. It's very well situated within Manhattan.
You can
and
see
once you get a reputation going that somebody of fame and fortune has done well here, then it expands within the industry. And other people have and are coming to the studio here. It's called Crash Studios in New York.
Smash.
Excuse me, my apologies. Smash Studios. Again, my my first timing. You know what? We're going to start something called Crash.
There you go.
Oh, there you go. You know, something built next to it. Crash, smash.
Right, exactly.
No,
exactly.
They absolutely have all the support systems that you would want.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, they're very, very nice.
And of course, jumping over to the Eyes of 1969. Once again, tell us about the album. You got the title track. You got Just Before She Goes, Let's Get Lost, Rachel, The Good Always Come Through, Blue Dream, and Things Will Never Be. And we'll be playing one of the tracks, I Need You Home, at the end of the audio interview. So for those who want to listen to the song I Need You Home, jump over to the audio version of Mike Wagner's show and check that. And tell us once again more about the album in detail, and also some of the songs you wrote. The title track, Just Before She Goes, Let's Get Lost, and more. So feel free to talk about the album, guys, and jump in whenever you feel like it, guys.
Yeah, The Eyes of 1969 is the title track of our first album. And the title track is about, living my life, and it's 2 generations removed now almost from those times. I see young people, and I notice young females also, and there's a certain quality during those times that is so special that young girls had, and it was curiosity and, quote, revolution, not in a violent sense, but a quote, a new way of looking at life. And I have seen through my travels as a bouncer and as a this and that, some of these girls, and they remind me so much of the young girls from those days. And the song is about a gentleman, not necessarily myself, who sees one of these girls and says, "You have the same eyes as the girls back then." And it's still a place, one of the lines of the chorus, it's still a place in my heart to see that girl with those eyes, and how timeless it is, or by generation to generation that quality still remains in certain young girls. And that's something that I picked on, I saw, and I wrote a song about. If I can just go on to 1 or 2 other songs without delay. Yes.
Go ahead, feel free. Adrienne, if you want to jump in, that's fine too. So,
Just Before She Goes, the George Harrison influence, the Beatles influence. We have a very kaleidoscope video to it on YouTube. It has that as you have to see very, very ethereal quality to it, and I wanted to try to capture that also from those times that I heard in certain Beatle records, certain George Harrison after that when he did the triple album. And I think that we sort of pretty much picked up and did a fairly good job on that. We'll be doing all types of genres and eras in the future. But for right now, the first one, reflective of the Eyes of 1969, there was a bit of that music going on in my mind in order to be created that brought me to the idea and the title of The Eyes of 1969.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like it's a big project. We've done with reviews and revivals of the generation past, but going 2, 3, that'd be a big challenge. You guys did a great job of recapturing the 60s generation and bringing it to today's generation. It's an amazing job you did.
It wasn't easy, because you have to stand up and measure up to what was. And if I could just sidetrack a little bit to one of your favorite, I was just listening to, didn't realize it at the time just how good they actually were, but just say, I'm going to take one group. I can name half an hour worth of groups here, but Mark Lindsay and Paul Revere of the Raiders, I was listening to his vocals, and I was listening to the rock soul that he had in his voice over such great melodies, and the production by I forgot who the producer was at the time, but it was so reflective of what was going on in California at the time. But then I had seen an interview with him recently, a recorded interview, and he said when the Beatles came in, he said it was just so hard to continue what you were doing because they changed everything. And even he tried to change in another direction then, and it wasn't. I don't remember what he was saying as far as the quality of it, or if he was happy with it. I don't remember, so I don't want to put words in. There's no words that I don't want to quote him. But it seems like after the Beatles changed everything back in those days, him and maybe 30 other groups that were trying, including try to think of who at the time. Well, I'm just saying, like even the Beach Boys, like what do we do now? The California. I'll go back to the California groups. What do we do now if the Beatles came in? At one time, Mike, you remember, if you do remember, the Beatles had the top 5 singles on the Billboard charts, different 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
I remember.
How do you compete with that when you're still doing kicks and songs like that? It's very, very hard. So what I'm saying is that I listen to I guess my point is I listen to old groups now, and I might have been a little too young to really appreciate just how good they were. But there's a lot of musicians like myself, older musicians, that say, man, I can understand now just how difficult, how innovative, how creative it was what they were doing, and how different. Nobody had done it yet. And you can listen to it. It still stands up 40, 50 years later. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And it does as well, too. They say Sgt. Pepper's pretty much changed the whole production aspect, and the Beach Boys tried with pet sounds, and then you also had a few others, and also the British sound as well, too, really changed everything. It was just the Beatles, but it was just part of the British invasion with the British sound that just, really, really, really just overtook everything. And getting back to Paul Revere and the Raiders, I was going to mention, the reason why I said that and gave the thumbs up is because I was growing up in Racine, and we lived in a duplex, and the neighbors, had this quadraphonic stereo. Of course, the big thing was quadraphonic, the hot thing with those flashing lights and everything in different colors, and they were blasting Paul Revere and the Raiders, and it was just coming through our thin walls, and nobody come over and say, "Will you turn that damn thing down?" But we're like, knock on the door, turn it up, we love it. I remember that, just going through those thin walls in the townhome. It's like, we love this stuff.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh! So
right.
And then we're waiting on Nelson Montana to join as well, too, here on the Mike Wagner Show. And we're here with John Gitano and adriennedugger. And, of course, we'll be playing the song I Need You Home. And maybe just tell us a bit about that before we play a song at the end of the interview. If there's any other songs you want to add, feel free to do so.
The story behind that song is quite reflective of what happens to a lot of musicians like myself. Co-writing it in the late 60s, I don't remember what it was. We were still an adolescent, and we were just learning how to play then, but good. And just shelved that song for so many years and would play it once in a while every 10 years. And then I said, let me look up my old friend, all right? And I played the song again, and I said, this song can hold up. This song is timeless. This song is a classic, I believe. And so we reconnected over the phone so far, or after 40 plus years, and reflected and talked about those times and the song, and that I was doing it, and that he was so appreciative that, that again, someone else like myself is taking interest, in what we had done together so many years later, because life is short, Mike, it is. And, but that you put something on the side for so many years, and then you say, I'm going to resurrect it, and then you find the person after, because I didn't even get to teach you, I forgot his last name, and I looked for him at times, but I was able to finally connect. God bless the internet. And I did. And now we're talking about this. We did this song. And there's a new camaraderie and relationship, friendship that I have with people from my past, which is always very, very exciting and very, very nostalgic.
That sounds very nostalgic and very amazing. Where can we find The Eyes of 1969 and all your other works at?
Yeah, right now we've released the Eyes of 1969. It's at all the stores. It's in iTunes. It's in Spotify. I think there's about 40 songs. It's in. We didn't do the second release yet with I Need You Home. That's a preview for your broadcast here. But we've completed a second album, untitled just yet, because that would be important. And it is reflective, again, of not only songs from there, but possibly a little further forward, and contributed by different musicians. And I think that if I go along this path, I think that we're going to do something very, very nice with the American Relics going along these lines.
We certainly would check that out. Once again, with John Gitano and Adrienne-Dugger of the American Relics here on the Mike Wagner Show. Just a few more minutes. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. And what else can we expect from you guys in 2022 and beyond, besides with the follow-up?
I have one dream, and it's at this particular, stage in our musician's life and life itself. It's that I would like to see the American Relics material played by American Relics or anyone else, covers of them, to be thought of as, I don't want to sound egotistical here, but be thought of as special. All right. And that's what, when you have so many songs from so many different musicians that have been shelved for so many years, it's very emotional and it's very, very satisfying in order to get these songs out into the public, show what we went through, put little stories behind it, maybe even, hopefully, with some sort of medium, put little books to it also that you can actually grab and own. Who knows? I'm not sure, how we're going to do that, or if that's going to come back, or if it's viable in the industry now. I don't know. I'm still learning the new industry actually itself, the new music industry. But that's what I hope, that we go on with albums, and anything that comes out with us is looked at as something special because of the 1 million years combined of experience that we all have.
And certainly amazing as well, too. And I thought about it with all the digital people out there. They can also download the app and also have the liner notes like in their Kindle or something instead of the paper version. But that'll be another time as well, too. And who do you consider your biggest influences in your career? So one of you go ahead and start. Biggest influences.
Oh, wow. I don't necessarily think of my influences as being from outside. It was sort of like pushes from inside. And I have the experience that John may have been more like this as well. And Mike, I think a lot of people are. We're not necessarily looking to be influenced by people, or they're people that we really loved and enjoyed, and you feel like, what they're doing looks really cool, but I would like to do my version of it, and so I feel like that was the biggest influence for me, was to be looking around the world and going, there's this choice and that choice and this choice and that choice, and to be looking for a way to combine things in the way that worked best for me, I think was my biggest. I would love to say that there was a person or a thing, but I just feel like we were so inundated in the 60s, and that spirit of rebellion that John talked about in Eyes of 1969, rebellion as opposed to complete rejection of, you know what I'm saying? It's like, this is the way things are going, and I see that, and I'm trying to choose something other, not as a push away, but as an expansion. I think so many people in the 60s, and that's part of the drug scene and so on, we were just looking to expand. And I have a feeling that was possibly the biggest influence on me, was to expand beyond what was expected of me, or expand beyond what people around me were doing, because I didn't know anybody who was doing opera but me. And I think that was my biggest influence, was just looking to find my way and make my choices in a way that, thank God, during that time period was really allowed and encouraged. Because to be different, to be yourself in the 60s was totally accepted for many people.
That's really interesting. I like that idea, expanding. That's a good way of putting it. And John, who are some of your biggest influences in your career?
Well, you can't evade the major influence, the changing of the world by the Beatles. I think what the Beatles had and what they taught me, and taught me musically also, was that I'm trying to think how to explain this. That you try to make something in pop music that is simple sound more complex, and something that is more complex you try to make sound more simple. And I think the Beatles were a master of that, where they took a melody that could have been just one note, and then how do we work with this melody? They'll put harmonies, they'll put a transversing chord change behind it. And to me, one of the keys to pop music is how the notes, the melody traverses the chord pattern that's behind it. So I think they had probably the biggest influence on me, but then again, there was like Ian Hunter, I thought was a great lyricist from Mott the Hoople. All the 60s bands with the pop, Motown. I mean, there was just beautiful melodies in Motown coming out of Detroit at that time. You can't get away from just how gorgeous so many of those melodies were by the Temptations and groups like that. And I think that there was a smorgasbord, to use a better word, a smorgasbord of melodies that were sort of crossing over from rock and pop and, the Beatles and the Invasion in California. And it just created the perfect storm, so to speak, of music that I was lucky enough to be influenced by certain mentors at the time locally, who I just happened to fall into, a group of people that were older and more advanced than me during that time. So not only was during that time did they have the good influence or the extremely fortunate ability to have lived through that time, but absorbed so much of that, me being younger and curious musically, and then I learned a lot of what they were doing at the time. A short story on how I started my first gig. My mother bought a guitar for herself to learn how to play guitar. I picked it up and I learned the first thing, and I think you'll appreciate this, Mike. The first thing I learned was the hook in And I Love Her. Do-do-do-do, right?
Yes.
And I kept playing that, and I says, I could do this, right? And I go, this is easy, right? Because you learn 4 notes. This is easy, right? Well, I was wrong about that. Well, anyway, there was this band playing across from the driveway on the next block where I lived. There was a driveway, houses, driveway there. And I'd be sitting there at the window listening to them all day, and they didn't sound bad. And my mother says, why don't you go over and talk to them? I says, Ma, I was too shy and too young. She pulls me by the arm and she walks me over. All right. So we go over there, right? And they go, and it was a 3-piece band. There was 2 guitars, just 2 guitars and a drum. All right. They said, you know how to play? I said, yeah, of course, right? Because I knew 4 notes, right? So I started singing because I knew how to sing. And then I started picking up, a little more on the guitar. And after only about a month or 2, I remember learning doom, 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 the Animals, right? Yeah. And doom, 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 that was the Doors, right? Hello, I Love You. And we got those songs down. And I wouldn't say I was great, but I was progressing pretty fast. Well, we did a gig, a Battle of the Bands, which they had so many of them those days. And P.S., we won. And that was it for me. I was hooked after that.
Wow, that was something. I love it. And what's the best advice you guys can give to anybody at this point?
Advice. You want to handle that, or?
If you've got something, I'll think.
I think that you have to, if everything that has come from today backwards has occurred already. So if you go back from 1 day to 1 year to 5 years to 10 years to 40 years, if what you were a fan of, or try listening to different music. I think the key to musicianship is to take the best of what occurred, the feel, this is very important, the feel of the time in the recordings also. What was the feel? What created that feel? What was the mindset? When I go back, I try to think of, okay, you want to try writing a song and I want to write it, with an influence of that area. How did I feel walking down the street? How did I feel with maybe my first girlfriend? How did I feel with the overall feel about the feel of the times, which there was something in the air back then, and I don't know what it was, excuse me. And I know it wasn't chemical for me, but for a lot of people it was. But there was a feel at the times. Capture the feel. Capture what they were doing in the musicianship, capture the recording techniques, and the trick is add something, learn from all of that, feed that into your own songwriting style, and add something unique of your own. That's, I think, the advice I might give.
And then, Adrienne, you had some time as well, too. What's the best advice you can give?
Well, it's sort of taking John's line and putting my own 2 cents worth. You hear a lot, and I absolutely sympathize with it, a sense from younger musicians, well, everything's already been done. Mm-hmm. And wow, it can appear that way. But the fact is, probably at some point, every generation has felt like that. Well, it's all been done within that framework. And then something opens out. Everything had been done technologically until they made an iPhone. And then boom, a lot of other things, branch off from that. And the thing that we all bring to it is nobody has my life experience. Nobody has my outlook on the world. And that, I think, is the magic alchemy. So as John was saying, you can amass all sorts of listening experience and study experience, practice experience, reading experience, all like that. But it's how you yourself alchemize it, the combination that you bring out that no one else can bring. Make sure that the horizon is always receding in front of you, that we never get to a finite end of something because there isn't one. As long as there are different human beings, there's going to be different places to go and different ways to conceive of things. And so I guess the advice would be, do honor to who you are and how you're looking at things. And even if it doesn't seem right at the moment, that's a lot of rebellion as well. It might not seem right at the moment, or people will flat out tell you it is not right, and that you kind of stick to it and see, can it bear some fruit and can it bring something to me and to other people?
That is very good advice. Once again, John Gitano and adriennedugger of the American Relics here on the Mike Wagner Show. Guys, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back in 2022 and beyond. Keep in touch. Once again, tell us about your upcoming projects, what's your website, how do people contact you, where can people purchase or check out your works?
Such a pleasure talking to you, Mike.
Yes, thank you, Mike.
And the website and everything?
Yes, it's my apologies. It's theamericanrelics.com. We have the bios of the people involved with this, and there'll be more people in the future. We have the songs there. You can go to listening to the songs there, or to YouTube. You can hear all the songs on all the stores that are out there right now, iTunes and Spotify. That is our first album called The Eyes of 1969. The second one second album we've completed already, untitled yet, but I've given you a glimpse, Mike, to be played on your show. First time here, a song called I Need You Home, that will be possibly the single or just included in the second album. And then we look forward on just keep moving on from there.
We will certainly do so and listen to it on the audio version. And guys, a very big thank you for your time. You've been totally amazing. Learned a lot. Looking forward to having you in soon. Make sure you keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Glad to have you back. We wish you all the best. You guys have a great future ahead of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mike. Nice being here.
I didn't like to stay away. I didn't like to keep away. All I do is lie awake. I couldn't sleep with things so wrong. I couldn't sleep, the day's too long. All I do is think of you. I need you home. I need you home. Scars in life, an endless dream. Broken hearts and faded dreams. You think it's gonna end, it just repeats it all again. Replace the memory of your kiss, your harmonize, your childlike silence. Let me believe that I'm right.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host, and I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real-life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. You know, it talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamotionzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.